So, I was going to wear this to the
shindig. Yeah, but it
But
was too
then
much to walk in.
I thought, how am I going to walk in this fancy outfit?
Even if we'd parked at the library, it would have been a substantial walk.
Yeah, I got this beautiful dress for $3.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's
awesome.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think
Even
I'm
for
making
twice
more.
that, it would have been well worth it.
So we're going to talk about Echo in the Canyon. Well, James is. James is going to do this talk.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to talk about that one first. So Echo in the Canyon. So it's subtitled The Birth of California Sound. There's been lots of California sounds. I wonder if Snoop Dogg comes out of there. Some of those guys, I think, come from out of there. Maybe not Snoop Dogg, but this is a sound that goes back to the way they're putting it, 65. So they started off with the Byrds doing Bob Dylan. Maybe they started off with the Beatles, but the Beatles influenced the Byrds. They were even talking about the Rickenbacker guitars that the Beatles were using. And the Byrds saw them. The Byrds got hold of a 12-string Rickenbacker or two. And they had a different sound. It's kind of like I'd say a banjo picking kind of sound. Roger McGuinn had been in a folk group. But then they do work the Beach Boys in there. The Beach Boys came more from, they did lots of harmonies, like the Byrds did, but they were coming from a different school of thought. It'd be like from doo-wop, which is the kind of like the smooth rock and roll from the 50s. So shaboom, shaboom, not the rhythm and blues kind of stuff like Carl Perkins' Blue Suede Shoes and things like that, a little richer. And in some ways that's the more not lyrically creative, but musically creative side of rock and roll. And unfortunately for rock and roll, the blues side predominated, where there wasn't much harmonies and stuff like that, so that's what took over in the 70s. But the powerful part of rock and roll to me is, weirdly enough, not the guitars, it's actually the vocals. And that's what the Beatles really excelled at. Like musically they weren't that good. At least I'm talking about instrumentally, but it's
like skill level. You're saying, okay.
Like the skill level in their instruments weren't that good. Eventually, McCartney was a pretty good bass player, and he got better. And George Harrison, once he started learning sitar, he got to be a pretty good guitar player. So they were kind of, initially they were just bass driven, really. But the thing that you could have recorded their stuff without any backing, really, and the vocals would have just taken the stuff through the roof, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, the same thing could basically be said about the Byrds. Like some of their harmonies are just awesome. Anyway, they worked through. They had Tom Petty doing the commentary. He eventually gravitated to the California scene, but he came from Gainesville, I believe, Florida. At least that's where he cut his chops. I don't know if he came from a smaller town, a university town. A lot of people who made it big in California came from Gainesville, Florida. So two guys who were in the Eagles, Bernie Leadon, and I think the guy who replaced him directly, what's his name, Don Felder. They came from Gainesville, Florida. The fact is, Don Felder used to laugh when Tom Petty was making it big. He said, I can remember little Tommy Petty coming to me for advice on how to play guitar. Hopefully he was really, really joking, because Tom Felder's a much better guitar player, but I'd much rather have talked to Tom Petty than Don Felder. Yeah, little Tommy Petty. But so he's doing the commentary, because Tom Petty is my age, almost exactly.
Oh,
so
really?
So he's younger generation. They weren't featuring any of his music, really. He's just a big fan.
Well, they had a lot of younger people in there.
Exactly right. So basically what this is Pauline's generation, people from Pauline's generation, or I think Beck's roughly your age, and stuff like that. Responding to this earlier generation. So it's kind of led by Jacob Dylan. And it's a generational thing, right? He's one of the sons of Bob Dylan. And responding to this. And so they go through Mamas and the Papas, and for some reason or another, they have Eric Clapton. He doesn't really belong. I've seen a picture or two of him in Laurel Canyon, and it's at Mama Cass's place. I think it's Mama Cass's place, and David Crosby's sitting there looking very pleased because he's showing off someone whose first record he's producing, and it's Joni Mitchell. And Eric Clapton is very captivated. I think he's interested in guitar work. I think he's also interested in Joni Mitchell too.
Mm-hmm.
So Stephen Stills, they actually at the end they had a ghostly looking figure doing guitar to an old Bird song actually, and that old figure, it looks like a ghost, and it looks like Neil, and it sounds like Neil Young, but I don't know if they actually have him here. But they had Buffalo Springfield belongs in this. They came from all over the world, and I think 60% of them came from north of the border. Thank you, Neil Young. Thank you. I think Bruce Palmer's dead, and I think maybe Dewey Martin, the drummer. Thank you. If you guys are still alive, I know Neil Young's still for your contribution, because you guys in Buffalo Springfield, you were America's answer to the Beatles. I don't know why you dudes split up, because you would have been as good as them if Neil Young hadn't got, like if he'd maintained the kind of lyrics that he was producing with Buffalo Springfield. He got lazy later on and stuff like that, but you would have been an answer to the Beatles. You guys were just amazing. And Graham Nash, he's there. He started working later on with Crosby, still with a member from the Byrds and a member from the.
You were talking about an interview that you liked out of there? You were talking about that with me.
Oh, the interviewer. The interviewer is Jacob Dylan. He's a much better interviewer than he's an interpreter. Unfortunately, they got him singing a lot of these songs. Like Neil Young, I never really liked him singing background on the Crosby, Stills and Nash stuff. In the Buffalo Springfield, some of his own compositions he actually wasn't even allowed to sing lead on, because he just ruins the harmony. And Jacob Dylan's a better singer than Neil Young, but he's not made to sing harmony. He's singing stuff where guys are singing high falsettos and things like that. No, it just doesn't work. But the interviews, like he always was deadpan singing, right? And it's great. One of some of the best rock and roll interviews I've ever seen. The best one was the one where Graham Nash, that's what reminded you of it. Graham Nash is saying, I think, so he's being interviewed by Jacob Dylan, I think music can change the world, And Jacob Dylan is just deadpan, no response. And so he says, Graham Nash says, I really think it can change the world. And Jacob Dylan just, and Graham doesn't respond. And Graham Nash says, you're not, it's like, I'm not giving this up. And Jacob Dylan, deadpan, he just shrugs. He kind of looks at the camera. Different generation, I come somewhere in between, but I've actually seen optimism. Pauline's more like Jacob Dylan's generation, and it's,
my generation's very dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like the guys from the 90s, like Jacob Dylan, or Cat Power is in this too. I don't know if she's advertised here. Cat Power is. But Nirvana, I don't have to tell you. Beck, I mean, I don't think of him as being optimistic. It's like he's making fun of stuff and so on and so forth. So, Beck is in this. There was Norah Jones.
Yeah, Beck is about as cheerful as my generation can produce.
Well, he's got a good sense of humor. You know what I'm saying? That makes up for a lot of doom and gloom. You can still be doomy and gloomy. You got to be able to laugh at it, I figure. So that's one of the reasons I think why I like Beck. Also, I think he's more intelligent than all of the people in this right-hand side combined, really. But
I don't know about Regina Spektor's pretty. I think she's.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, many people on this side have more talent than Beck in terms of music, right? But I don't think of any of these as being great.
I love Cat Power, but I don't know about them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's Jacob Dylan, Fiona Apple, Beck, Nora Jones, Regina Spektor, Cat Power, Jade Castrinos.
Yeah, I don't know that person.
And they had Jackson Brown over here, but they didn't feature any of his music. Again, he's a fan. He's almost exactly my age. He was very precocious. He might be a little bit older, but he's very precocious. He started making it when he was a teenager, I think in New York. But I think he comes from the West Coast originally.
Wow, I'm drinking this lemon like crazy, and you're not touching your hot chocolate.
Well, I've got to let it cool down.
It's probably cool enough.
Yeah, you like this stuff a lot hotter than me. They brought out Lou Adler, who must have been old, because he was just the producer for the Mamas and the Papas. So he's
well, anyway, you like that quite a lot.
I liked it pretty darn good.
That's your review.
There are things that I would have done to change it around.
Like what?
Well, I would have had these women who've got the voices actually singing the lead for almost everything.
Yeah.
And because the thing about that California sound, I mean, you had Jacob Dylan. I think you commented on it. They were doing a Beach Boys thing, and he's doing, like he could have done a Mike Love thing, but they had no Mike Love tunes.
Oh, there was one song that I was like, wow, did they ever destroy that one? What was it? Hoping to Fly.
Expecting to
Fly. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, well, that one. I mean,
that's one of the greatest songs ever. And
it is. And it's like I knew. Here's one interview. They had Steve Stills, and they were in the Buffalo Springfield. He and Neil Young, and so Jacob. I think it's Jacob Dylan was acting Stephen Stills. So what part did you play in it? I knew what he'd say. He said I didn't have anything to do with that. That was Neil Young and a dude called an older guy. He used to work with the Stones and Phil Spector, but he worked with the Stones. Jack Nietzsche, and he actually gave up production in order, like an LA career, working as a producer. And this guy had all sorts of talent. He scored classical. He's done classical music scores for movies, and he gave up that to go work with Neil Young. And then Neil Young will let anyone down. Fans, wives, bandmates, producers. Because, like the Neil Young first album was an attempt to be something maybe like Sgt. Pepper's. Nietzsche does a string quartet, string quartet and Whiskey Boot Hill, something like that for Neil Young. And Neil Young just proceeds to.
Do you know when Neil Young's birthday is?
Oh, you're wondering what his sign?
I am. I'm wondering if he's a Sagittarian.
I don't know. I don't keep close track of that. I think Bob Dylan's a Gemini, and maybe John Lennon was a Libra. That's about all I know. I really don't keep track of that kind of stuff. But it would be interesting because he just always dumps people. Like he'll just dump people right, left, and center. And, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. His big fandom came from Harvest, the big album. I think it was '72. It had Old Man, Take a Look at My Life, and Out on the Weekend, See the Lonely Boy Out on the Weekend, and Heart of Gold. That one was kind of worth it. But most of those songs, you see, like here's Out on the Weekend. It starts, think I'll pack it in and buy a pickup and take it down to LA. Find a place to call my own. Try to fix up. And you're going, what are you doing? It starts off pretty darn good. And then he's rhyming lazily. He didn't used to do that. One of the things that happens here, I was out in the kitchen making a sandwich or something like that, or toasting up some pizza in the microwave. And they're starting off with the Buffalo Springfield song, For What It's Worth. There's something happening here. And it's so cool. It's about a riot, like on Sunset Strip that the cops busted up, right? And the Buffalo Springfield are just underplaying it, right? You better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. And then they just got it, like it's just all laid back. Well, what they did, they're doing this, from what I can tell, live. So, or else they do record. It's a different recording, and they're lip syncing. But what happens is, all of a sudden, they segue into Neil Young's Mr. Soul, which is based on the Rolling Stones' Satisfaction. And there was a reason why every band in LA that had to play live, like the Byrds, were absolutely jealous. The Doors too, of Buffalo Springfield. They had 3 guitars. Man, oh man, Steve Stills and Neil Young could rock. And man, oh man, my ears just perked up. I felt like Bugs Bunny. I thought they were scraping the ceiling. But on that song, like Mr. Soul, no one's heard it nowadays. But, like it's, how does it go? Yeah, I was raised by the praise. I was down on a frown. It's kind of, the lyrics aren't the best, but he's trying stuff. I was down on a frown, and a messenger brought me a letter. I was raised by the praise of a fan who said, I upset her. Any girl in the world could have easily known me better. She said, you're strange, but don't change. And I let her. Neil Young never duplicated that sort of stuff. There's a couple of rough things in there. He's a young pup, though. And that line, she said, you're strange, but don't change. And understand, he'd be getting letters like that. He's a strange duck. And that's why Jack Nietzsche just threw over a whole career. That's all done to a Rolling Stones beat. It cuts the Stones. Mick, Keith, the ghost of Brian Jones out there. Buffalo Springfield. They ripped it off of you. But understand, they didn't steal it. They ripped it off of you. When you're hearing those guitars going, it's just electrifying. It's like Layla with Dwayne Allman and Eric Clapton are launching into the guitar. The lyrics are dumb, 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 dumb. But that's not what I'm listening to. What I'm listening to is that lightning. The lightning of Dwayne Allman's line on Layla. That's what I'm listening to. And then the screaming at the end on the guitars. And they're both seeing who can outscream each other. But Buffalo Springfield did that. Like it sounds like 2.5 minutes. They cut the Rolling Stones all to pieces, into ribbons on that one thing. It's tough to do, but it's tough to do back then at least. Nowadays, anyone can do it, really. But it was pretty good. It had its faults and stuff like that. And for someone nowadays who's listening to hip hop and Eminem, don't bother. Won't mean anything to you. Someone my age might mean a whole lot. Someone who's Pauline's age, it might mean something to you, because people from the 90s, that generation, I respect. Because one of the high moments of my life, after listening to and watching videos, listening to music from the 80s and watching videos, it must have been something like 90 or 91. And I saw this group come on with hair, uncombed hair. The lead singer, blonde, uncombed hair. He was handsome. And he's moaning and crying and stuff like that. It's more like moaning, really. And it smells like Teen Spirit. And I said, life is worth listening, life is worth living, and music is worth listening to again. Just from that one video. I watched it at the end of the year. I didn't watch videos, I just watched it at the end of the year. And that generation didn't have, like that much music talent, but they were at least trying. It was well worth it for people like Beck, Cat Power. One of my favorite videos is not just, it's not that MTV thing.
Yeah,
it's
but
like that when she's doing her own personal Woodstock. You know what I'm saying?
Enjoying music, but I tuned off of it when, like, you liked listening to what's her name, that one that. Well, you listened to Shania Twain too, but the other one.
I like Shania.
I know you do.
When she rocks out. Yeah.
And no, what that other one, the one with the big mouth that is not attractive, and she had a lot of popular songs, and one of them was about
Amy Winehouse, you talking about?
No, I love her.
She's pretty good, yeah.
Dead, too bad, but
way too bad. Yeah.
Way too bad. Mm-hmm. She could have done awesome stuff.
Yeah, she could. Yeah. I think she wrote her stuff. Mm-hmm. It's kind of scary, that one rehab,
Yeah.
So I gotta go to rehab.
I know.
No,
so good.
No. The key line is not the thing about rehab, but it's the no.
Yeah.
because it's not so much no way, no way. It's like no. It's like a baby being fed pablum.
So yeah, I don't. But no, I'm talking about what's her name, the one that. You know what? I can't think of any of her songs, even though she was hugely popular.
What sort of
because
stuff?
I couldn't stand
What sort
her.
of stuff does she do?
It was by the time I hit college, she was popular. So maybe in
But what sort of stuff?
95.
You're not talking about Amy Mann, right? I like her pretty good.
I
Sort
like
of
her.
just like I like her, like Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
But,
No, the.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't like her that much. She's Canadian, good Canadian woman, but I'm glitching on her name too. But I know who you're talking about.
I don't
You're
want to
doing a
have
better,
to sing it because
yeah,
you know I can remember. James is always impressed because I remember melodies.
Yeah, very good.
Perfect. I can
Yeah,
hear a song
yeah.
but I don't feel. I feel shy about it right now for some reason.
Well, you'd probably be a little bit out of practice, right? It always makes a difference. Like if you got on a bicycle right now, you might.
Well,
be pretty
I would
shaky.
have to do
But,
the da 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 because I can't
yeah.
remember the words.
Yeah, well,
because
that's
I
always a
didn't
problem,
like
isn't
her.
it? Well, you see, the trouble I had with her lyrics was that she'd get the accents on the wrong
Yes.
syllables.
Oh, so bad.
Very bad. And the thing that shocks me is she was working with a professional songwriter at that point in time.
And they did that.
That guy let her do that.
Wow.
And I would have just, if I'd been that person, I would have said, no, like, let's just lay back and, like, just, how do you actually say these things? One classical musician was talking about the Beatles, like Sgt. Pepper's and some of their later work, and he's saying,
Although I did like it when in that movie. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off right in the middle of the thought.
I'll finish it up and we'll go back to just maintain that. But
I'll try to
classical
think of the
music
movie.
was talking about the Beatles, and he said, the thing that's most impressive, to him at least, or one of the most things was, the music fits the lyrics. Or I think he was saying the lyrics fit the music. And basically they do. This accents come at the right time. It's really important. What does that mean? It means the music emphasizes the lyrics, and the lyrics emphasize the music. There's a feedback cycle. You'll notice when people are kind of beating the time to when they speak, they don't go beating the time when they speak. Do you notice that they actually emphasize with their, see, I'm doing it. I'm emphasizing with my hand where the accent comes, right?
Yeah.
So that's absolutely important. The
Oh,
Beatles
and
are
we
very
should
good at
say that I think this was worth watching more than the movie yesterday.
this one.
Yeah.
Was better than this one.
No, the Echo in the Canyon was more watchable than yesterday.
Oh, this yesterday thing. Do you want to talk about yesterday? Oh, you wanted to talk
not
about
really.
a movie or something?
Well, I was thinking of the only time that I really enjoyed listening to that awful singer who was very popular,
Yeah.
who sang about giving her boyfriend a blowjob in the theater.
Yeah.
Um,
It was glitching on the name. And then the bonus song on her album was about stalking a guy.
see, I wouldn't
that,
know because I didn't
dumped her.
have the album.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
No, what
she was
impressed me
awful.
about her, it's, I don't like this.
Okay,
listening
why
to her
did
stuff.
you like her?
Well, I don't like listening to her albums,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But because I'm sitting here, it grates against me. I'm going, no, you can't do that with the
Okay.
song. You can't go theater.
Yeah, I know, and I couldn't stand it. Like
Yeah.
what came right after. Honestly, I'm watching Adventure Time right now, and I think they're from the generation that came just after, where this
After
one that
you, or-
where they're listening to that awful woman
Mm.
and Marilyn Manson and stuff. Which Marilyn Manson, that was just totally superficial. That was just a look.
I don't know if I've ever heard a
Nothing.
Marilyn Manson song
So
and
bad.
recognized it as such.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the whole goth generation, it's like, oh my gosh, don't associate the Satanists of the 90s with the goth
You know,
people.
one of the saddest moments
I mean,
of my life
honestly.
was when
And,
Billy
I mean,
Corgan.
when Satanists are embarrassed to be associated with goth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really says a lot about the generation that came after.
One of the saddest moments of my life was seeing Billy Corgan in goth makeup. He was trying to do goth. You know, I'm going, dude, come on.
Oh, I was going to say the movie.
Yeah.
Remember the movie with the guys that they have dinner and they joke back and forth and they go on vacations and stuff together. Now, what is that movie called? They've made a couple of them now, and they're wonderful. I love them.
Oh yeah, I don't know what.
Okay,
it
so
should be a
now
series,
we can't
you
think
know,
of the
like
name of the
On
woman,
Road
and we can't
series.
think of the name of the
Yeah.
movie, but the movies are great. Anyway, the one where he had the Bad Singers album in the car, and he was saying it was his girlfriend's, but he knew like all the lyrics, and he was singing along everywhere.
Those guys are hilarious.
It was so good.
Yeah.
That's the only time I enjoyed listening to that woman, because they made such a good joke out of it.
Yeah.
Because it was obviously his album, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both do Mick Jagger pretty good, you know. It's cruel and well, it shouldn't be unusual because Mick Jagger's so.
Well, he
I
is
mean,
a
he's-
joke.
he's-
I
of
mean,
course.
yeah.
You know, like he's kind of did the reverse of Elvis.
He's like a little tiny rooster. He's like a bantam. He's like the smallest bantam.
The funny thing is, he's like
He's out there
5'11" or something.
puffing out his chest and cockadoodling, and all the roosters are like, "Should I bother?
That's right.
I may as well just
Oh,
let
man.
him do it
Yeah, yeah.
because
he's like
sad."
of course, it's like that one that always wanted to take on Leghorn Cleghorn or whatever. You remember this little chick that always wanted to fight him?
Yeah.
He's a little bit like that. He's ridiculous, and he started off that way. You know, like one of their first semi hits was "I Am the Little Red Rooster." Too lazy to crow,
Oh, wow.
crow today. Yeah, it's an old
Okay.
blues song. I don't know who did it originally. But that was kind of like the image at first. And I understand his dancing stuff wasn't nearly as stupid as it looks now. I think he started to change it after working with Tina Turner. Can you imagine having to follow? Have you ever seen Tina Turner with Ike Turner?
She's awesome.
Well,
Like,
have you seen her
on stage,
way back
she
when?
really performs.
I know, but
Yeah.
the big thing
Okay,
is when Ike Turner was out there. Ike Turner's one of the best rhythm guitarists, and that was before rock and roll. He was like from the 50s. He's one of the best rock and roll rhythm guitarists ever. And
I mean,
what
Madonna really kept herself in shape, but Tina Turner, wow.
well, she had pipes, you know. Like,
Yeah, but her muscles were humongous.
of course,
She
And
was really
She
shaking
knew
it.
how to move them.
Yeah.
She'd shake. And the
Oh,
funny
yeah.
thing is, it was basically just arms, but they didn't move around much on the stage. It was just a whole lot of shaking like this. But they had the what were they called?
No, I'm not a Tina Turner fan or anything, but anybody's got to be
the-
impressed with that.
I can't remember what they're called, the Turnettes or something like that. There were three of them. And so it was Tina Turner, and then there'd be three of them off to one side, and there'd be Ike Turner blasting away on the guitar. And the Stones had to follow them.
I got to check.
Day after
We're
day.
probably out of
Okay, it
juice
could
by a
be.
long shot. I mean, you've been chatting here for a while. No, you still have time.
Yeah, they were called the Ikeettes after Ike. But after
Couple
that, Jagger started jumping around the stage. Before then, he was imitating more like James Brown with all the sliding and stuff like that. He didn't do it anywhere near as fast and as smooth as James Brown. It always seems like he's wearing runners, you know. Oh, got stuck a little bit. But
Well, anyway, I like watching these kind of things with you, these music things,
Yeah.
because I love seeing how much music moves you.
I love music. Did you want to talk a little bit about this?
I don't. You go ahead. Talk.
Okay, so this is yesterday. It's kind of based on the idea that if someone wakes up and all of a sudden the world doesn't know about Coke and it doesn't know about
The Beatles.
the Beatles